Today, on Be Something Wonderful, you cannot fail. How I mastered the law of assumption. I am your host, Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Big video this morning. I want to talk about a client session. This is an ongoing client that really, he wanted to talk about, Tom, I get it. I totally get it. And he says, I am mastering the law of assumption. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it because this segues nicely with a comment from a subscriber yesterday that I answered, that he even additionally commented more on the channel yesterday. I want to go over those comments. And it really has to do what we're talking about, because this client yesterday was saying, you know, it's talking about messing in the middle. I talked about don't mess in the middle, and one client that I was giving you a story that says she's no longer messing around in the middle. Well, this client really gets it, that he stopped trying to resolve his thoughts and feelings. He stopped trying to feel better about conditions, and instead moved to the identity, to the assumption of that person that he desires to be. This is the law of assumption. I want to really break it down. And it's nothing we haven't heard before, but the way he talked about it and the way we framed it and put a lesson around it really highlights what we're talking about here, right? Because remember the levels of creation. This is what he pointed out. I'm going to show you this in a few minutes. Let's see if I can bring it up here. If you remember, I brought the levels of creation in other lessons. We're going to talk about this. But what he was saying, he's no longer messing around down here, caught between his assumptions and the physical manifestations in reality, and caught in the middle, trying to feel better feelings, trying to feel better thoughts, trying to feel better, trying to conjure the emotions, trying to change his beliefs and assumptions here at the bottom up. Right? Versus going to your identity, identifying with that I am awareness, and then making it, and then choosing who you want to be there. So I want to talk about this. So this subscriber yesterday on the channel was talking about this comment. So it's safe to say that the mental diet is not necessary because thoughts and feelings are not creating reality. He was, remember the initial comment from yesterday was so God doesn't get negative, or God doesn't see negativity. And I said, no. Negativity and the judgment and the experience of reality is your decision. You have the free will. God gave you the kingdom. Everything is yours. How you experience that, you have the free will to decide. Right? And so God doesn't weigh in. God's always there for you. God's always holding that space for you. God is always there with that love for you. But God doesn't meddle in the middle, doesn't meddle with your free will. So, and then this subscriber said, so it's safe to say that the mental diet is not necessary because thoughts and feelings are not creating reality. Remember, we didn't say that thoughts and feelings are not creating reality. We said thoughts and feelings are not reality. There's a difference. We're going to get to this today, right? Remember, everything's creative on some level. From the lowest level, right? From the lowest level of creation to taking action, to the highest level, to being source or first cause or the isness of reality. All of it is creative on some level. In other words, all of it, when I say creative, what do I really mean? All of it is an experience of reality. Because that's what reality creation is. Remember, creation's finished. All scripts are written. So it's about experiencing that ultimate reality and choosing how you will experience reality. That's what reality creation is. That's what manifesting is. Determining how you're going to correspond and resonate with that creation that's already finished. And depending on who you decide you are, what that self-concept is, that determines, quote, your vibration or your resonance, or how you're going to correspond with creation. Okay, so remember, so thoughts and feelings are not reality. So it's not about that. We're not saying that they don't create reality. They create a specific experience of reality. Definitely. But when you're down there and when you're in the trying to change your mental diet, when you're feeling there's some restrictions, that you get to flip thoughts or flip feelings, when you're doing that, you're down here trying to change your experience of reality. You're at the lowest levels battling it out. Right? Trying to flip thoughts and feelings, trying to feel better about the conditions. Right? So we're going to get to this today. Remember, they do create a specific experience of reality. When you are thinking something and feeling those thoughts, hear this, you are corresponding, resonating, vibrating with a certain experience of reality. In other words, a certain frequency. This is where it all ties in, the law of attraction and quantum physics and the idea of vibration. It's all here, right? But all of that gets determined at the highest level of who do you say you are? And that's going to determine, that's the only law there is, the law of being, the law of I am, the law of who you say you are. That determines what you're going to correspond with, what you're going to assume, think, feel, and believe. All of that, right? So all of it creates reality on some level. And so there's nothing you need to do. When you said you need, so you don't need to do the mental diet. Whether you look at, there's nothing wrong with the mental diet. Some of the spiritual greats talked about that, but what are they really saying? What they're really saying is focus. Put your awareness on who and what you desire to be. Not the unwanted reality, not what you don't want. That's all they're saying there. But it gets put into this thing where it's struggle and it's strife, and even the name of it, right? Even the name of it implies restriction. But it's never meant to be that. It's just meant to focus on what you want, right? Turn to that. It's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Son, you're always with me, and all I have is yours. So there's nothing you need to do. The kingdom has already been given to you. Everything that is God's is yours. It's said right here in the prodigal, right? It's said right here, the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The mental diet, right? The mental diet means shift your awareness and attention to what you want and desire from a state of fulfillment, not from a state of lack, not from a state of resisting conditions, trying to flip thoughts and feelings, from lack and separation. That's what sometimes we believe that is. That's not what it was meant. That's not what the spiritual greats, that wasn't their intention, right? And remember what Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas, if you don't fast from the world, you won't find the kingdom, right? This ties into mental diet, fasting. What that means is, it doesn't mean to run away from the world. It doesn't mean to necessarily ignore it. It means to see it from that higher ideal. Fast from the unwanted, the things that you don't want to experience, right? Your source of it all. So I want to hit this a little bit more. Remember the 7 levels of creation. I'm just going to hit this again because it's key to everything we're talking about. Remember, you have the highest level. You have source, first cause, the absolute, the great I am, the Father of Scripture, right? The Father's house. As it says in Scripture, my Father's house are many mansions, many dwelling places. In that house is the isness of reality. It's changeless. It's timeless. It's love. It's always there. It's the only reality because reality, ultimate reality, doesn't change. The first manifestation of that source, of that absoluteness, of that Father is the I am awareness, the Son, the God consciousness. All potential realities, all potential forms exist here. It's the beingness of God. God is the isness, the unchangeable. The beingness means you can be whatever you want or desire to be. In that beingness is all potential, right? And so that's the many mansions in my Father's house. Do you see it? And then here, level 5 is your identity, your self-concept. The superimposed sum of all versions, all realities, all identities, all consciousness. This right here is who do you say you are? This is where the law of assumption comes in. That's why it's so powerful. This is the sweet spot of creation, right? deciding on, knowing that in Him we move, we live, and have our being. In Him we move, we live, and we exist in this, in the Son, in that absoluteness, in that isness. We have this beingness that we can form it and see and have any experience of reality that we want. It doesn't mean it's reality, that's reality, that isness. But there is an experience of that I am awareness. You get to decide what you're aware of, that God consciousness. That's reality. You get to determine the experience is up to you, right? You get to determine. And then on level 4, those are your assumptions and your beliefs based on your self-concept, based on your identity, based on who you say you are. That you have these core assumptions. You might want to call it your core vibration. In law of attraction terms, it doesn't matter. One of you said, well, the law of attraction never resonated with me. I get that. I understand what you're saying. I don't use that word either, attraction. But it's not, but you don't have to go against it. It's all the same thing. There is an attraction within the universe. In the universal laws, there is an attraction going on. There is a polarity going on. So that's not wrong at all. It's a great term. Do you see it? It all works. But when you get above the polarity, when you get above the wanted and unwanted, the attraction and not attraction, you get to identify as that I am awareness, as that beingness. That's where the law of assumption, the law of being comes in. So it all fits, right? And then you have core assumptions, you have beliefs, you have your truth, your facts. That's level 4. And then you have like thoughts and assumptions. That's level 3. It gets more restrictive. Right? This is where the mental diet comes in. That's why diets don't work. Because you're trying to make change here. You're trying to feel better and think better thoughts and feel better thoughts. You're even trying to change your assumptions and beliefs, but you don't know why you can't change them. Because you haven't decided at the identity level who you are. And when you decide that, those assumptions and beliefs will change, those thoughts and those like thoughts and assumptions will change. Your diet will change automatically. You don't have to go on a diet, right? You just got to choose. That's what a diet's about. It's about choosing. Then you're gonna feel these thoughts and assumptions. You're gonna have emotions. Then you're gonna have the physical 3D actions and conditions. All of them create an experience on some level of reality. But what this client from this yesterday was talking about is he's no longer here when he feels something or thinks something, he's no longer trying to flip them, trying to feel better, trying to resolve those. He's just leaving them and going back to the identity, going back to the assumption, and even going a step higher and saying, I am God and there is no other, right? Which a lot of you have been doing. I've had clients that are winning like small little prizes right now and lotteries. That's what they use those words. They say small things, but remember, it's all connected. But they're using this now. I am awareness that's identifying here as you identify on level 5. Otherwise, you're just battling it out here from the bottom up. You're getting exhausted. That's what I was talking about. We're going to come back to this in a second. So hold that thought. Remember, creation is finished. The script is written. Means all possible experiences of reality. That is, all versions and identities of you exist here and now. I am or not at all, right? You exist. All these identities, all these realities exist right here and right now or not at all. And not at all is not an option, right? Remember, there's just the isness of God. So all of these possibilities exist right now in the vertical. This is now. These 7 levels of creation is vertical. They're not horizontal, right? It's now. So in non-existence or non-isness is impossible. It either is or isn't, and isn't is impossible. This just exists, and God is. God is not. God is. It's not that God is not. God is. That's the many mansions and dwelling places of Scripture. That's all those possibilities exist. It's level 6. It's the beingness of God. In Him we live and we move and have our being. In Him we live, we move, and we have our being. All possibilities exist in Him, in that isness of reality. Do you see it? Level 6, that's the beingness. Level 7, that's the isness. That's the absoluteness. That's why this is why then, if all of that's true, and it is, that's why you can imagine, think, and assume it. If you can imagine, think, and assume it, it exists, and it's real, and it's a reality here and now. That's why. If you can think it, if you can imagine it, if you can assume it, it must exist. It must exist in these levels of creation. It has to, because everything exists here and now. Do you see it? In my Father's house are many mansions. We've talked about this. In my Father's house, in level 7, the absolute, in the isness of God, are many mansions. Level 6, the awareness of being, the beingness of God. There are infinite minds and points of consciousness in the one divine mind. In that isness, in the absolute unity, all possibilities, all realities, all identities exist. Right? That's what Jesus was saying there. In that being, in that isness of God, all possibilities exist. Many mansions, infinite mansions. You can identify in an infinite number of ways with that reality. And then Jesus goes on, if it were not so, I would have told you. Even Jesus is saying it here. In other words, if you can imagine it and assume it, it must be so. That's what Jesus, because if it were not so, either all possibilities exist here and now or not at all. That's what Jesus is saying. And if non-existent were possible, I would have told you. Jesus is saying, if I am not is possible, I would have told you so. But I didn't tell you that. So everything's possible. If it were not so, I would have told you. So it's so. Everything is so. If you could imagine and assume it, it must be so. That's what Jesus is saying there, right? And if non-existence were possible, I would have told you. There's only I am, where all possibilities exist here and now. That's what Jesus is saying there. If it were not so, I would have told you. And then he goes on and says, I go to prepare a place for you. And notice the wording here, I go now. Not I will go, I might go, I'll go in an hour. I'm going right now. Right? When you imagine, when you affirm, when you intend, when you claim, when you assume it, you're preparing a place. There goes my voice. You're preparing a place. You're identifying with and as that new reality and version of you. Do you see it? You're imagining it. You're assuming it. You're preparing your place. Right? I've talked about 2 Kings 4 before, based on teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn, when she talks about digging the ditch, that faith is preparation. Well, that's what preparing the place is. That's what faith is. Prepare the place, dig the ditch. Remember, it was the story of the 3 kings and their armies were caught in the desert, starving of thirst. In other words, starving of spiritual realization, of awareness. They reached out, God, where's the water? You know, bring us water, bring us rain, whatever. And they prayed, and Elijah, the prophet that represents your I am, said, it will not rain, you'll not see wind, you'll not see rain, you'll not see a cloud in the sky. But water will be there, rain will be there. In other words, if you dig the ditch, if you prepare your place, the rain's already there, the spiritual knowledge is already there, the reality you want's already there. Just dig the ditch, assume it, imagine it, attend it, claim it. You're preparing a place. You're identifying with and as that new reality and version of you. That's what we're talking about. You can imagine a simple scene. You can affirm it and assume it. You can claim it, but prepare the place and stay there, right? And if I go, and this is what Jesus says, if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you to myself. But what happens? Jesus goes, prepares a place, comes back to get you, and you're gone. You're back in the conditions. Do you see it? You're back here in that trying to feel better about the conditions, trying to feel better about your thoughts. You're trapped there. You left here and you're back down here. Instead, this is really why this session with this client was so amazing. He really got this power to master the law of assumption. If I go and prepare a place for you, if I imagine, if I assume it, if I intend it, I'm going to come back and receive you to myself. That 3D reality must yield to it. You must be living it in 3D reality no matter what. In other words, where you are within, what you assume, what you affirm, what you claim as your identity, must be a reality right here and now, regardless of what the prevailing 3D conditions are showing you, regardless of what the outer conditions are showing you, and regardless of what you're thinking and feeling, those temporary thoughts and feelings that come up out of the blue. Forget about all that. Don't identify with those. Leave them there. Stop trying to resolve them. Stop calling them reality. Stop identifying them as reality. And instead, prepare your place. And go and then with your I am, and then it will be. That's what we're talking about here. And then Jesus goes on, that where I am, there you may also be. You are where you are in your imagination. You are where you say you are, where you assume you are, where you declare you are. So where are you? Because that's where you got it. Jesus is coming to get you, right? That I am's coming back to get you, to merge, to embody with that new state, that new reality, that new identity. But where are you? Are you back down in the bottom level of creation, trying to feel better about things, right? The outer conditions must yield to I am no matter what. No matter what. So this subscriber that I talked about that had a question on the channel, and you know, he was asking a question there. I get it. And there was some frustration. He admitted that. And I get it. And I felt that in the question. That's why I mentioned the idea of being cute. But I got it, guys, because I've been there. Don't forget, I've been there. I know that. I know where you're coming from. Thanks, Tom, for covering my question. I was not trying to be cute or funny. Just was feeling frustrated and sad for dealing with the messy middle. I get it. That middle's enticing. We want to solve that stuff. We want to resolve those thoughts and feelings. Instead, go to your desired outcome. Go to your identity. And then you'll see the answer's already there. The situation's already been resolved. There's nothing to do in the middle. There's nothing to deal with, right? I get it, right? I was there. Here you are, your identity, your self-concept, your I am. What do you say I am? Here it is on the levels of creation. Your identity, from that I am awareness, based on that isness of God. There you are. And then there's the 3D manifested physical experience. You feel you're caught in the middle. Do you see it in other assumptions, in thoughts and feelings, in the mental diet? That all catches you in the middle. Instead, stay here where the only reality is, and then those manifested conditions, those physical experiences, must yield to it, must show that. Don't get caught here in trying to manipulate and change all that stuff, right? Stay where the ultimate reality is. This is ultimate reality. You get to decide your experience of it. How? By who you identify with. Who are you? What are you? Be that. Assume that. And then you're no longer caught here in those conditions. You cannot feel how I mastered the law of assumption. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for being part of our Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. Also, thank you for being with us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, and for joining our membership channel. We had a video that we just released a few days ago, really powerful. Check that out if you want. And also we have a live stream coming up on August 6, 2023 with me live here in Las Vegas. We're going to broadcast and answer your questions at 9 in the morning on a Sunday, August 6th. And I'm already receiving lots of questions. Keep sending them at info@besomethingwonderful.com. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. With great love, with great light and infinite gratitude. This is Tom. Until next time.